Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here today to review Don't Be Afraid of the Dark from 2010. This is obviously a remake film that had been rewritten by Del Toro, the guy who had given us Pacific Rims and Hellboys and Pan's Labyrinth and a number of other things. Mimic, kind of take your pick. So, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is to end up being a creature film. A movie where Del Toro had gone on to state, in his own opinion, the reason why he put together a film like this is because he wanted to make a place that is to be a familiar and safe place like a home that you go to every day to be unsafe and for you to be afraid of an area like that. And the way that he actually goes on and phrases it is just perfect, where it makes all kinds of sense. Also, Del Toro goes on to state that he himself, as a youngster, would throw a blanket over his head and turn on a flashlight to read a book late at night, and would also go on to use blankets as just this safety measure whenever he was to be afraid at night. So it just made so much sense for what they do in this film from his own personal experiences. So, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark 2010 gives us Sally, a girl who is to leave her mother to make her way to her father's home with a woman named Kim, who is to be possibly Sally's new mother or stepmother. So, Sally, of course, did not go on to agree to live with her father, and Sally, of course, is going on and being very argumentative. And we think even further that Alex is to see Sally continuing to lash out, and Alex doesn't fully understand what is really going on in his own home, as we would come to find that the creatures are to be the one actually doing this, so that way Alex then would in turn go on and accuse Sally of doing this, so Sally can go on and further realize that her parents are treating her poorly, so Sally will go on to think that the only thing that she can go on and really be treated well by is this thing whispering to her at the night that they will be friends and they want to play. And when Sally is to go on and think at first that this thing whispering to her is to be a thing that maybe she could treat as maybe some kind of pet of some kind, and maybe try to understand if this thing is hungry, that maybe she can feed it and take care of it and whatever, because she doesn't really know what it is. When Sally further goes on to find out in this movie through Harris what this thing could possibly uh, do to a person, Sally then goes on to try to change her tune and realize, yeah, these things that I could have thought were to be my friends maybe are to go on and harm me, because looking at Harris and the way that he had been chewed up and spit out by these creatures that will come to find are uh, Hamasuli, or tooth fairies or creatures, however you want to go on and rattle that off, through the aliases of stuff that I've gone on to see at some point when I try to look who these creatures up were, and also seeing how they looked like in the remake and or the original, and then this one, the black and white film. We would go on to specifically within this film uh, find that once Sally is to realize that she is to be living in fear within her new home, Kim wants to go on and realize, hey, like, if I was to at first not think that I was going to be a good enough mother, I'm looking at this girl and realizing that, like, that I need to do something, that I need to go on and figure out what is to be the history of this home, and find out the Blackwoods story and find out that, yeah, like there is a possibility that there is something haunting this home that Alex is completely oblivious to, that Kim will go on and find what is the right thing to try and do for her Sally, for her daughter, possibly. And eventually, Alex will realize that that is the right thing to do too. So, with this film, regardless of how anyone is to probably go on and actually feel about this movie, I thought that this movie had a lot of visual eye candy with it. I thought that this movie was very beautiful. And also, the artsy drawing thing really just like was like, oh my god. I loved that in this film. I was to just be like, oh yeah, give me a lot of the drawings. Like I will be like having this girl doing all these sketches and everything. Like I was like, man, this is to just be so wonderful. I love this. And the creatures, yeah, whatever kind of CGI you want to go on and throw in there, whatever. Like to me, like off in the distance when you look at them, they look like rats. To where it's like, yeah, you can definitively, even from a distance, just be kind of weirded out by them. As well as also just kind of like within this movie made me feel uneasy, and it's been a very long time since going into a horror film and feeling that way. And I liked that I was to just kind of feel so uncomfortable and was to be like, okay, let's just keep my eyes glued to the screen as best as I can. But I know where the scare is coming, but I'm just like, like I'm just like, man, this is just so hard to just like I just gotta I just I like yeah, I just kind of felt just like so just about this film, and I love that experience because it's been such a long time since I felt that way. So this movie was to go on and remind me of Darkness Falls, the Tooth Fairy movie, because of course this is another Tooth Fairy film. It also reminded me of Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, because they have tooth fairies in this. They had tooth fairies in that. They have tooth fairies in this. So very much matchy matchy. I guess maybe Del Toro was to kind of copy and paste from that. Um, but either way, uh, we would also go on and have me to look at this and like feel there was some beats that felt similar to like the Disney movie Labyrinth, with the creatures that were kind of in this darkness, and they were going to go on and eventually wreak havoc onto the girl's uh, room and what have you. Kind of reminded me of Labyrinth in a way. But yeah, that's what I kind of took from this movie. Some other kind of interesting films to kind of lend to this one. I probably could have gone on and said a number of just creature movies, but I kind of wanted to stick the landing of what is to be much more similar to this film. Because I could have really gone off the rails and just slapped any creature movie like Gremlins or whatever, but I just didn't really want to go on and do that kind of effort to just kind of throw uh, whatever comparison, just that way I can probably get a way of tagging anything into this. But so at the end of the day, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark actually was, I feel, a solid, okay movie at the end of the day. It is a very slow going film, and I don't think that the creatures are completely to be best seen or to be put throughout the film enough, but we also are to go on and realize that this movie has more dark spots. And if I'm to complain about Pathfinder giving me a lot of darkness, that is to be honestly completely different because of that movie being an action film. and this movie being a horror film where it makes more sense. And also, we do actually get the creatures in like really close in frame shots as well. To where if we didn't definitively be able to get a good seeing of them at certain points, we can get really good close up shots also in certain points of the film as well. Is also the sheets scaring scene. Uh, I also liked the fact that there was to be the weakness of the light because that reminded me of very much Darkness Falls, and I loved that film, that Tooth Fairy movie. So I think I'm probably very biased about this film of my enjoyment of it, just because of a film that I also liked, and it reminded me of that. So logically, my grade of this movie could be very biased. So regardless, I just don't care. Like, I've seen some freaking worse horror films. I've seen some very uneventful horror films. And so, logically, when seeing that there's just enough here to get me intrigued enough and actually to get me legitimately uncomfortable, watching this film was definitely going to easily give me a thumbs up for this film. So, with that said, I think it's about that time to just push into full on spoilers about this and go in depth and fully break this film down because I think it's about that time to say that it is spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below what is to be your favorite Del Toro film, what is to be your favorite horror movie, and also what could be maybe your favorite creature film? Because I'm to seemingly tiptoe my way into possibly reviewing creature films possibly in the future. I am to go on and still say that there are possibly a handful of horror films that I'm going to go on and pick and choose and cherry pick through. Hopefully, some of them may be good. But I'm also to still possibly want to review Ghoulies and also some other titles that I'm to possibly think may be interesting in the near future, like Dragon Slayer from the 80s, or also uh, The Brood, or also to go on and look into horror films like uh, The Loneliest Way to Die, or Open Grave, or hopefully some interesting titles that eventually will give me something to come out with. Just like, man, this is a hidden gem that I really did actually like. I feel that, yeah, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark did also deliver me that. Like, it's a movie that I did enjoy. Like, would I ever go on and watch this again? I don't really know. Uh, Probably under the right circumstances, yeah, I probably would watch this again. Uh, but with a thing like doing stuff like this, I just don't have that kind of time affordability. But anyways, with that said, I'm gonna go on and get into the cast list and draw out thing of which that I always go on to do, so a lot of people can kind of jump off here, and that's perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna go on and rattle off the rest of this film, scene for scene, scare for scare, and dare say just figure out a way to just rattle this whole thing off and then just right off from the sunset as I normally tend to do. Thank you for going on and watching this because again, you may jump off at this point. It's understandable, but logically, I hope that eventually at some point you may go on and enjoy some other film that I may review or do also. Regardless of how lengthy I'm sure these reviews are. Uh, I am to just go on and regardless of how the grading of any number of these projects will be, I am also just so happy about doing them all. To go on and find these hidden gems and really to be able to dissect them in a way that is to be in familiar territory of other films that I've gone on and seen in the past and loved, and to uh, share that love, as well as a movie that can go on and be like, yeah, to it, like, yeah, it's so nice. It's such a relief. And with that said, let's get into wrapping up this review. Let's whip out whatever I need to whip out, and without a doubt, rattle this all off. So, thank you. All right, spoiler territory. So, this movie goes on and does something of a much more rare occurrence. Because in the IMDb cast list, they go by who appears in the film. I'm like, okay, good. Because that helps out a lot most of the time when I'm to go on and just be like, okay, I don't know who exactly these certain specific people are. And when I have to kind of thumb through a whole like cast of people, it's just like, uh, and oftentimes a lot of characters aren't to actually have pictures, so it really does help when it's like, oh yeah, like so this is going to be this person. Through most of this review, a lot of the characters don't actually have legitimate names. Like the therapist that comes in the later part of the film is just to be called like psychotherapist, and that's all his name is. So I'm just like, okay. So if at certain points these people do actually have names in the movie, and I must have just had it go over my head, then my apologies. But also, like with how thin the cast list honestly is in this movie, I kind of thinned out how many people I have to actually memorize who their names are. So it just kind of made it easier for me to just need to much more explain the film than know who everyone's title and whatever are. But anyways, let's talk about this film. So we have this horse and buggy, kind of telling us what time period is to be kind of much more earlier going on in this film, and then time will pass and we'll get to more up to date, kind of more cars and stuff like that, more modern day stuff. So we have a horse and buggy that kind of makes its way to show us then this house. This housekeeper goes on to uh, brings some food to Blackwood, the house owner. And Blackwood is to be struggling from the fact that he is to have recently lost his child. And it seems there's a possibility that this child had gone down the chimney of this basement that is to, of course, be infested with these creatures, these fairies. So the housekeeper goes on to make her way to this basement to speak to Blackwood to do like, well, hey man, like I made your food, like I got you dinner. Um, because Blackwood rang this bell to then have the housekeeper assume, oh, I should just bring him food. So Blackwood is going on and telling the housekeeper to come on down, and we eventually find as she makes her way down these steps, there's all of a sudden to be this tripwire that she's going to fall down these stairs. The housekeeper does go on and do so, and then of course when the housekeeper is to have Blackwood uh, put himself on top of the housekeeper's body, we come to find that Blackwood is to go on and end up having an agenda to try and knock out all the teeth of this housekeeper because Blackwood had gone to do the exact same thing himself. Because it seems that these creatures want teeth. Blackwood is going on and hoping that he gives these creatures these teeth that he will get his child in return, which is to obviously be a lie. These creatures have gone on to, I'm assuming, kill his son or turn his son into one of them, which in case I'm not exactly sure exactly. But either way, what Blackwood is going to do is going to be a just an endeavor that will just be wasteful. So we have Blackwood that is to go on and entice the creatures with this teeth. And the creatures go on to tell Blackwood that it's not children's teeth, so it doesn't really matter to them. But Blackwood still desperately wants his son. So eventually they go on and they take Blackwood and they suck him into the chimney. And then the next thing we see is more present day. Sally is going on and she's on this airplane and she's drawing this spiral as if she's gone on and seen the Chris Rock Spiral Saw film, I'm sure. That's why she wanted to draw them. No. Maybe there's an Easter egg of Spiral in this movie. Whatever. Yeah, because this movie was done in 2010. Anyways, so Sally is going on and being transported instead of walking like everyone else is doing with this little go kart. And here is where then Sally is to go on and meet with Alex and Kim. Kim had gone on to decided to buy this teddy bear, and so Kim ends up asking Alex, is like, well, do you think this will be a stupid gift? And Alex is like, no, it's perfect. It'll be just fine. She'll love it, I'm sure. Alex goes on and sees Sally and starts to make jokes about how old she is. That she says she's like 17 or something like that. And Sally tells Alex like, well, you know how old I am. So here is where Kim presents Sally with the bear. The bear goes on and says, I love you, I love you. And we'll go on to find the bear is eventually do that later on in the film, but it seems to be triggered by something else besides the love of a parent. So uh, we have at a point where Kim does go on and have this Polaroid. This is to really date this movie because a camera like this is to go on and be a thing that even when I uh, was to have gone on and had a retail job and so on and so forth of selling these things, yeah, a lot of people would actually go on and buy these because they just kind of liked them and enjoyed them. And eventually they just stopped discontinuing them because everything in general was just kind of discontinued as far as cameras were concerned because eventually just mobile phones came into existing. So Kim goes on and takes this picture, and so they start driving uh, to their new home. Alex goes on and tells Sally, hey, it must be good to be breathing in this fresh air, not like LA and its smog. Alex turns to see that Sally is putting in medication. Eventually, Kim will go on and ask Alex what that medication is, and Alex will answer it to be Ritalin. And Alex will also go on and tell Kim that it seems that Sally's biological mother would just medicate her dogs. So yeah, so she just goes on and medicates her daughter as well. So Sally goes on and asks her father if she can call her mother, and so it seems that the mother is on some kind of speed dial, and for her to just press this green button, and so she does. It seems that Sally is to only get her mother's answering machine, but eventually she'll go on and talk to her at some point in this movie. So they finally make their way home. They all start to get out of their car. We, of course, go on and be met by Harris. Uh, we have Sally that is to, of course, go on and need to say hello to Mr. Harris, nice to meet you, and all these kinds of things. Uh, we would, of course, have Sally. He needs to go on and make her way through the house. and we have at certain points where Sally used to kind of poke at this little owl looking thing. We have Sally, who I believe ends up saying how things kind of smell funny, but both Kim and Alex make the joke of like, man, you should have seen it before. There was pigeon crap everywhere. If anything, they've gone on to take more care of the house now, and so it could probably smell a little less worse off than it really was. So we have Alex that goes on and he takes a phone call, and so Sally goes on and makes her way in to where I believe is where Kim goes on and does her own artwork and stuff like that. Kim goes on to tell Sally that she likes to draw too, and Sally turns to Kim and is like, "Oh, like, do you work here?" And Kim is like, "No, I live here." So Kim goes to explain to Sally how she's an interior designer, but it's like, well, I'm not going to go on and explain that to you because I'm sure you already know what that means. Because of course she does. Uh, we have Kim that goes on to explain that some of uh, the artist stuff here, the paintings and things, are actually all have been by the prior person who had lived there, Blackwood, and he had been famous for them. Uh, Kim also goes on to discover the bookcases and how they would kind of slide back and forth the way they do. There'll be a foreshadowing moment where uh, of this being presented in the film, because later on we will come to find that when Sally is facing off against the creatures, she will go on and use those sliding bookcases to try to squish some of them. So we have Sally that goes on and finds this specific pendant, and Kim is to mention that it's from her grandmother's, and that it eventually got passed down to eventually to be given to Kim. Maybe one day Kim will pass it on to Sally, which that'll eventually happen in the film. Uh, Sally goes on and states that it seems that Sally uh, was to state that her mother was to give Sally up to her father, and eventually Kim will talk later on in the film to Alex about that. And so Alex kind of pops in and asks Sally, "Hey, do you want to go on? You want to see your room?" They make their way up to Sally's room, and we go on to have Alex that shows Sally this little nightlight looking thing, a kind of merry-go-round esh like thing that goes on and has these certain kind of uh, things that are to consistently turn and show visuals and are to kind of be this kind of really interesting way of light source that just kind of looks really just fascinating. And Alex turns to Sally. It's like, well, hey, it'll look better at night, but considering this is during the day, yeah, it's not going to look the best. So we have Sally that goes on to ask Alex how long she's going to be staying here. And Alex has to go on and break the news to Sally that it seems that this is going to be temporary. Or not temporary, permanent, my bad. Permanent. So, and Alex will go on to say that because Alex heard from her mother that Sally is to go on and feel sad, so she thought that like changing things up would eventually have Sally go on and and be all the better to be living here. Uh, Perhaps for just a better change of pace. Alex also goes on to state that the housing arrangement that they're living in right now is going to be temporary because it's going to be a thing that he's going to work on and then turn around and sell. Then they can move somewhere else. Uh, we have Sally that goes on and gets so upset at this point that she goes into her own bathroom and closes the door and holds onto the handle. Alex tries to go on and tries to talk with Sally, but Sally is holding onto the door. And Sally, of course, is upset because he doesn't want Alex to end up with Kim. And starts talking about how mom said you only liked her because she was young. But she isn't. She's old. Oh no. So Alex goes on to tell Sally to open the door, and eventually she does. Eventually, Sally goes on to tell her father that she just wants to go to bed. She throws off her coat and is to just make her way uh, to her bed to sleep. Alex goes on to tell Sally, it's like, well, hey, don't forget to brush your teeth. And so here's where the two of them go on, both Kim and both Alex, to their own bedroom. And Alex is to say to Kim here, it's like, man, if you had a poker face, you have a terrible one. So also, Kim has been ironing her clothes for way too long, supposedly for 30 minutes now. So here's where Kim goes on and is talking to Alex about the whole, like, well, hey, like Sally said that you were that Sally was given to you as a gift and this and that, and also about the drug thing. They talked about that, about the Adderall, and they also go on and they talk about Jacoby. Uh, they are talking about the magazine that they're hoping that they're going to go on to be a cover of, so that way, uh, one after that happens, they can go on and be able to uh, sell this house because it'll be a really good selling point. But yeah, but uh, they're hoping that they're really going to go on and have business really kick off of them once they get to cover this magazine. So that's kind of what they're talking about here. We have Kim that is going on and looking at Alex's sketches for this architecture. And I thought that those kind of like, again, like visually eye candy here. So, but Alex also goes on and talks about how things, the way they kind of played out today, were not as good as he hoped that they would be. And Kim says, like, well, yeah, I feel like an evil stepmother. And here's where the two of them start to kind of bring in more jokes and more levity here. And Alex does go on and say to Kim, it's like, well, yeah, you are an ancient old mother. And they start to kiss and they start to get intimate. And yeah. So the next thing we see is the ventilation shaft. Uh, and we'll come to find that Sally is hearing uh, mother and father through the ventilation shaft. So Sally goes on and puts a pillow to it. We hear into the chimney or the furnace, whatever this thing is, where we have the creatures within inside of it say, Sally, her name is Sally. I'm gonna go with, honestly, uh, chimney, because to me that what is to go on to make the most sense. But like, it looks like a furnace. So if I mess that up through this entire film of it being a furnace instead of a chimney, then my bad. But either way, I said that here to just being confirmed of, like, I don't know what this is. Furnace sounds good. But anyways, we have Sally that goes on to make her way sitting on this bench, and it seems that she has either found, it looks like walnuts to me, I guess it could be rocks, but it looks like walnuts. Sally is going on and putting her own name in what looks like walnuts to me. And we have Sally who is going on to see Kim off in the distance. They both wave their hands. I think this is really just to like see for Kim to see where Sally is, so she can kind of just be protective of her. Uh, Sally goes on and starts wandering off all around the circumference of this place, and here's where we start to see the beauty in the environment that they're in. They start to see these fountains. We start to see this kind of almost, I would call it like a, it looks like a massive trophy, but built out of like deer antlers and eventually Sally's to kind of look through in it, and it's to kind of see these holes, and it kind of looks like a very interesting visual. Kim goes on and is to find this kind of shield that has the initials EB on it, and puts it on the front door, and asks Alice, "Hey, what do you think?" And Alex says it looks great. And then he starts asking where Sally is, and Kim says she was on the bench. They start to look for where Sally is. She's not at the bench. She's wandered off. Sally goes on and has this stick, continuing to make her way to go on to find uh, this grass or stick shrubbery that Sally is to try to push aside because she is to notice of this glass that is going to lead them to find out about the basement. A thing that, of course, is to as much as possible to try and be hidden away from these people that own the home. Harris goes on and finds Sally trying to remove this shrubbery. He grabs her and he tells her it's not safe to be back here, pushing her on to make her way back to her parents. And Sally, Harris, and Kim and Alex reunite here, asking what's going on and if everything's okay. Uh, Harris goes on to tell the parents, hey, keep her from the back of the house. She could have fell in. She could have made a mess. She could have hurt herself, blah, 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 blah. So Harris goes on and says that it's too dangerous to be back here for a child. And we go on to eventually have Sally that is to be mentioning about the thing that she found that is to lead to a possible basement. So Alex, Harris, Sally, and everybody, they make their way uh, to, of course, what Sally had found, and they realize that it's this kind of glass window to lead them further down into a basement. And Alex is like, well, how is it that we couldn't have found that there was a basement? Because the basement doorway had been sealed to where no one knew about it. It was this secret basement. And obviously, I think that had been done by probably Harris or whoever was to have been people who knew about what was really going on in this home, trying to hide the secrets away from the common folk that don't know anything about these creatures from underneath this basement. So Alex is to try to make his way throughout the house to try to figure out where there could be an entrance into the basement. And Alex goes on to find that a place nearby the staircase seemingly could go on and be very hollow and could lead to a possible door. Alex goes on and takes a hammer to this wall and says, hey, if if this is to not actually be a possible door, then if anything, we can just fix it later. Alex goes hammer time on this wall to come to find that, yeah, there is a secret door uh, after smashing this wall. Harris goes on and is to look on as Alex is like, yeah, there's a door here. And Harris is like, nah, whatever. Like, you shouldn't have found this, but whatever. Like, I guess that's going to be your downfall. So they realize that this door possibly has a key to it, and Alex goes on and asks Kim, like, well, hey, do you have those old keys? And so they make their way to finding that, like, this door handle has this, like, bird on it, which I thought was really cool. As well as just the way that this door looked was just visually interesting. So they make their way down this door and down to this basement. And as Sally makes her way down there, they're telling her to be careful. And Alex is just so amazed at the basement that he's just so curious how they missed all of this. Also, the scribbling that is to be on this furnace on top of it is to honestly look very like I would probably say it's very like it looks kind of Viking-esque. Um or very like Norwegian or something. I like just the way it's kind of just carved the way it is. Um because I just gone on to look at some other kind of Viking kind of lettering, and it kind of looked similar in my opinion. But I could be wrong about that. But anyways, moving on. So when they're looking through the basement, we of course go on and have Sally that notices the dollhouse, and she opens it and she plays with it. And we also have Alex that turns to Harris and asks if Harris knew anything about this basement. And Harris is like, this place isn't safe, especially for kids. Uh, and Alex is telling Chris, is like, it's fine. Like, I'll watch over her. And we would also come to find that Alex is to see certain things of Blackwood's work and some sketches. And so Sally and both Alex to notice the ash pit. So I guess that could actually be what this thing is instead of a furnace. But whatever. Um, so we go on, and the family makes their way out of the basement back into the part of the home, or their own individual rooms. Sally is to go on and be so interested in this ash pit or fire pit or whatever that she is to even go on and further sketch it. She makes her way down the stairs with this backpack of hers, and she goes on to find these tools, and she places a crescent wrench in her backpack. Eventually, as Kim makes her way uh, back up the stairs, she then notices Kim. Kim goes on to state, "Hey, I'm going to be making scones. Would you want to kind of make some with me?" And we would of course go on to have Sally mention, like, no, that's all right. Uh, we have Kim that ends up asking, "Hey, what do you have in your backpack?" And as she kind of hears the clinking of the backpack against the wall, And she goes on, "Oh, it's just my drawing stuff." It sounds some pretty heavy clunking for some drawing stuff, but okay. So as Kim leaves, and then Sally obviously goes down to the basement because that's her real agenda here. Sally is to go on and make her way to the fire ash pit, whatever the freaking thing is, and is to take this crescent wrench and it's to trying to pry off of the bolts of this thing, uh, because she wants to just open this thing up for some weird reason. She is to be just so interested in seeing what could be uh, from within side of it. We even go on to have it a point where Sally is to put this kind of this little thin stick of a thing in the hole just to, I don't know, just kind of maybe feel around. And eventually, when she goes on and does so, that thing ends up getting taken away. So here is where Alex makes his way back down to see that Sally is messing around down there. And he goes on and asks her, "Hey, what are you doing down here?" Uh, and Sally goes on and says that she's heard something. She's heard voices whispering to her, "Come and play with them. Uh, there's only children down here. They're just like you." So on and so forth. So we would go on to have Alex state, "Oh, it's just voices," or no, wait. Like he goes on and says that it's just rats. And then when she says, "Well, I hear voices," it's really intelligent rats. And that would go on, of course, to be the comparisons of the actual creatures, that they look like rats. So Alex goes on and he makes his way to the furnace, and he pokes his head ever so close to it, and we would have a point where the stick object that Sally put in to this furnace thing, it seems to be poking out to the furnace to go on and almost lodge into Alex's ear. And the further and further that this stick ends up getting ever so close to Alex, we get to the perfect point where he turns away. So Alex and Sally, they leave, and the screws are starting to come undone from the rest of this furnace, and it ends up getting opened. Sally goes on and is to poke her head to out to this hole to then see that there are teeth there, and she collects them, not knowing exactly what they are. So now at the dinner table, we have Mr. Underhill or Mrs. Underhill, who's kind of like the maid here. And immediately when I saw the name of Miss Underhill, I'm like, Underhill seems to be the kind of the a very familiar name and that at some point gets used in horror films, but I don't know exactly where it comes from. But if anybody knows that this name is also familiar to them, let me know in the comments below what that could be. But yeah, that name just sounded so familiar somewhere. I don't know exactly. Um, but I know Mr. Underhill. Mr. Underhill. I don't know where that comes from. But anyways, so we would of course try and have Miss Underhill try and make food for Sally, and of course she's not going to eat it. She doesn't like it, and we would get to the point where Alex is just telling Sally just to eat her food, and Sally will not go on and do so. And like they're also going on and saying like, well, hey, won't you like apple pie? Won't you like this? Won't you like chocolate milk? Da da da. Like something to just try to be more like, well, hey, let's give her something that she probably will like. But Sally is not going on and not giving in, so she's going on and she's leaving the room. And then eventually Miss Underhill will come with the apple pie, and Alex is just really there to just be left to eat it by his lonesome. After Kim is to go on and argue with Alex about how she feels that she will not go on and be a good mother, and and uh, and so on and so forth, to then eventually just leave herself, to where Alex is to be the only one really there. Uh, so we have Alex that's taking a phone call from Joan, Sally's biological mother. So the two of them are talking, and so Alex is telling Joan that Sally won't be able to come to the phone right now because she's sleeping, and she's sleeping. She, of course, was sleeping X number of hours ago. So Sally ends up going on to make her way to her bed as she is kind of walking throughout the house. And she has the pillow over the furnace. And we go on to then have the bear that is to speak to her and say, I love you, I love you. And we, of course, would go on to immediately have Sally think that this is the creatures going on and talking to her. And so Sally goes and asks, did you speak to me? And the bear again says, I love you. So the bear falls on the ground, and the creatures go on and tell Sally that the lights hurt them. So Sally should go on and turn off the lights. So Sally goes on and still has her little night light on, and we have Sally that is going on and asking, or the creatures are asking, hey, do you want to be friends? And Sally's going on and asking about a doll. And the creatures are going on and saying that the doll is with them. Sally goes on and asks, who are you? Uh, and the creatures are answer, friends. Sally goes on and is to seemingly be looking underneath her bed to try to find her doll. Eventually, the doll will be underneath the bed and it'll be very chewed out. Sally goes on and asks the creatures what they are, and they just say that they're hungry. They're very hungry. Sally goes on and says that she has food, and she asks to see them, and she says, I won't hurt you, I promise. Uh, we, of course, go on to have Alex, who comes into Sally's room asking what exactly she's doing. Sally goes on to state that she is looking for her doll. And Alex is like, well, what about this teddy instead? And Sally's like, no, that's all right. Alex goes on and looks underneath Sally's bed and notices a tooth underneath. And is like, hey, you probably shouldn't go on and have this underneath your pillow. It's not very sanitary. And we have Sally, who goes on and asks Alice if she can call her mother. And Alex says that it's too late now, and her mother's probably asleep anyways. So, kind of lying to her, probably. Because Joan already just called Sally, but anyways. So, uh, we have Alex that goes on to tell Sally, hey, like, maybe tomorrow you want to go on and try to at least, like, try to work things out with Kim. Uh, like, try to make this easier on her. Like, come on, like, give the old college try, even though you haven't gotten to college yet. Like, come on, kiddo. So, it seems that Sally is trying to work things out. So it's like, okay, that's good enough. So the following day, I think Sally goes on and she puts a thing underneath her pillow, and she'll get a coin in return. And eventually, Sally will hold on to this coin, and then like they'll the parents will go on and find that Sally has the coin, and then they'll look at it themselves. I'm like, man, this coin's really old. Uh, and then eventually they'll figure out about the coin at some point in the story. So Alex goes on to try to find his razor, and it's missing, as he, of course, is to be wanting to shave. We have Kim that goes on and says, hey, we have to leave in 5 minutes, so just take my razor. And Alex is looking at it, it's like, well, it's not my razor. Plus, she shaves her legs with this. Whatever, it's a razor. So here's where Kim tries to go on and look for her clothes and realize that her clothes have been torn apart. Being upset by that, we of course have Alex, who assumes that Sally had something to do with this. So the parents go on and confront Sally about this. She boo-hoos and she cries, and uh, Alex goes on and tells Sally, "Hey, you could have cut yourself. Uh, what did you use? My razor, yada yada yada." So, uh, Alex asks for Sally's hands, and Sally goes on and has that coin in her hands. And Alex goes on and asks Sally where exactly she got that. And eventually, this argument escalates to like, well, let me go home. And Alex tells her, you can't go home, or you are home. Both Kim and Alex talk. It's like, well, yeah, she's never done this before. This is obviously her being very angry about something. Uh, Kim goes on and says that this probably isn't even anger, it's actually fear. And so Alex just goes on and tells Mrs. Underhill, it's like, hey, we need to go. Uh, so if anything, Kim and I have an appointment for this historical society thing. So like we really just need to leave. Um, Alex makes his way back to Sally and say, hey, think about what you did. Uh, or think about what you need to say to Kim later on. And Sally has nothing to say to Kim. So here is Harris. He's outside here. So Sally in her room is going on and eventually trying to talk to the creatures through the furnace or through the ventilation. Sally ends up saying, hey, are you there? Are you the one that cut Kim's clothes? Uh, do you have Daddy's razor? Uh, you have to tell me the truth. If you want to be my friend, I won't be angry. The creatures are going on and saying for Sally to come down there. to come down to play. So Sally makes her way down to the basement with a flashlight on her. And so Sally thinks that since they said that they are hungry before, that Sally was to bring them raisins, thinking that that was going to be the thing that they want, and they don't. Uh, Sally goes on and eats some raisins and says delicious, and the creature says delicious, yeah, so delicious. So the further and further Sally and the creature are having this conversation, eventually Harris makes his way down to the basement and is to try to get Sally away from the ash pit, asking what is she doing down here in the dark. Were you talking to someone? Is there someone here with you? And Sally goes on and says, no, I'm all alone. There's nobody here. So we have Harris that goes on to tell the little girl to go back upstairs with Miss Underhill to make a lunch and go off now. So Harris goes on to make his way back to the ash pit, and he is to try to go on and put bolts back into the ash pit. We, of course, have the creatures that end up getting upset with Harris. Harris, you old fool. I swear I didn't. And so Harris goes on and says, I swear I didn't tell him anything. We have the creatures that start to go on and attack Harris, putting a screwdriver into his leg, grabbing some scissors and all kinds of weaponry to stab into Harris. Harris goes on and falls over, gets a box cutter to the hand, and further gets all these lacerations and cuts. These creatures tear into him as much as they possibly can, and he goes on to even take a bit of scissors into the traps or into the shoulder here. We have Harris going on to getting so torn up here, and Mrs. Underhill starts to make her way down to the basement. Harris gets back up, tells Mrs. Underhill to get away, that he had an accident, and for her to call for help. Mrs. Underhill kind of waits by the doorway of this basement for Harris to hopefully come out. By the time that Harris comes out, he is very disheveled, bloody, and so much of a mess. Harris goes on and eventually collapses in front of both Sally and Mrs. Underhill. Mrs. Underhill tries to shield Sally's eyes from the horror that is to be of Harris's torn up body, but she probably got a good look at what Harris looks like. So, and Mrs. Underhill will even go on and apologize to both Alex and Kim because of that when she sees them a little bit shortly here. So Mrs. Underhill goes on to have the cops make their way to this location. Both Kim and Alex are to arrive. Mrs. Underhill is to go on and inform Alex and Kim about the situation and apologize about the whole Sally seeing Harris the way he had gone on to see him. Da 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 da. So Kim goes on to find out where exactly Sally is. She's hiding in this tree. And Kim goes on to ask Sally if she is scared and if she wants to talk about it. We have Sally that goes on to ask him if Mr. Harris is going to die. And Kim goes on and tells Sally no. He's going to be okay. Kim goes to ask Sally if she wants if she can show her something. So the two of them make their way to the koi pond, and it seems that Blackwood had gone on to find these Japanese fish and make it be a thing that is to be on this pond. So Kim wanted to show Sally this, and this will be a thing for Sally to just continue to make her way to this koi pond just to watch these fish. So it's kind of a very pleasing visual here. Uh, we have Sally that goes on to tell Kim that she didn't do anything with her clothes, and she swears that she never touched them and everything. And Kim goes on and she believes him. She believes Sally, and she promises to her that she didn't. So Kim goes on to tell Sally that she doesn't care about the clothes, and then Kim goes on and looks at the coin. Uh, as Alex goes on to state that that he can't figure out when the coin actually was from, maybe 1804, or maybe even sooner than that. It's hard to see. It's pretty worn down. Uh, they state that more than likely she found it somewhere in Blackwood's studio, but kind of throw her hands up trying to figure that out. Of where they would think that she found it, besides underneath her bed, probably from the creatures who have like this whole well of a number of just odd items. But anyways, they go on and explain that the creatures can go on to have certain coins that are to give uh, to to people who have put teeth underneath their pillow within the portion of understanding these monsters. But anyways, here is where Sally goes on and she calls her mother. And Sally, of course, wants to come home. And Sally tells her real mother, Joan, that she doesn't like it there. And Joan tells her, hey, don't fret. It's so beautiful there. All you just need is time to just adjust. Uh, Sally keeps going on and saying that her bed is too big, and she thinks that she's getting sick there, and really Joan is still just saying like, well, hey, it's just something to get used to. You're going to be happy there. I promise you'll get used to it. And then Joan goes on to tell Sally, it's like, well, hey, I gotta go. And so she says goodbye. Uh, both Alex and Kim are in their bed, and Sally is at the foot of it. Kim goes on and notices that Sally is at the foot of the bed. Kim goes on and is to grab Sally in her arms and carry her off to her own bed. And as Kim tries to leave the room, Sally is to demand that Kim stay there just so that way she could be more safe. So Kim goes on and agrees to this. Kim goes on and she lays by the end of the bed. And we get to a point where then Kim, when she wakes up, puts the teddy bear next to Sally and then walks off. Here is where the creatures start making their way through Sally's room and they break the nightlight looking Ferris wheel like thing. So here is where Sally goes on to hear from the teddy bear, I love you, I love you. As this time around, the teddy bear ends up getting destroyed by the creatures, and both Chris and Kim will see that the teddy bear is to be just disheveled. Since Sally doesn't know exactly where she can run from at this point, the only thing that she thinks could be the safest thing to do is thrust her head into the blankets. As Sally makes her way to the blankets, there's going to be something that's going to meet her there, which is one of the creatures that has snuck into the blankets itself. And Sally goes on to meet one of the creatures with this flashlight, and it scares it because of the light. Sally thrusts her body from out of the sheets and then goes on to try to figure out who she can yell for them to come to save her, which is her daddy. The daddy goes on and turns on the light and is to say, hey, what's the matter? The creatures all make their way back to the vent as they are grabbing their mitts onto the vent and to see what's going on. Sally goes on to state, I don't want them to come anymore. They live in the basement. They gave me the silver dollar. They said they wanted to be my friend, but they're horrible and mean. Uh, and so Alex is trying to tell Sally that she's just having a nightmare. It's okay. And here's where they see the bear all disheveled and torn up. Look what they did to my bear. So here's when they go in and they bring the psychotherapist, or where I will call him a therapist, making their way to have Sally go on and talk to this guy. And I'm trying to and he goes on and does like the simplest of conversations, like asking Sally, "Hey, what is your favorite color?" It's like, it's purple, right? And she's like, "No, it's black." And he's like, "Oh, black. I can just put that in my notes because what else am I going to say here?" So the therapist goes on and asks about the little things that Sally had saw, and what do you think that they are? Sally goes on and says fairies or gnomes. I don't quite think that they're exactly gnomes, but I get, yeah, like I guess it could probably make sense if it's a little creature. Then I guess it could be a gnome, but nah. Like when I'm thinking of gnomes, I'm thinking like Keeper or elves going on here. But I don't know, maybe there's a lot of variety of gnomes going on, much more than I'm aware of. Uh, but yeah, but she does say gnomes, but she says scary ones. So it's like, oh, okay. Uh, the therapist goes on and says, so they talk to you, and Sally says yes. What do they say? Sally goes on and says, well, they want to play with me. And the therapist says, is that all? We have Sally that is seemingly sketching what the creature is to go on and look like. Kind of looks like the very famous, like, kind of the painting of the Scream. Kind of looks like that in a way, but kind of like the hands are kind of up in the air here. It looks very weird, but very alien in nature. Uh, Sally goes on and says the creatures say that her parents don't love her. Uh, and so Sally ends up asking the therapist, "Can I go now?" And the therapist is like, "Well, just a few more questions." So we cut to Sally going to the koi pond as the therapist is going on to explain to the parents that she is seemingly having a triggering of these fantastic episodes. And she had gone on to find these teeth at this fireplace, and and it's something that the therapist is to say that it's a very detailed um, thing that he has ever gone to face as far as what this girl's encountering. And so, of course, the therapist is saying it's like, well, the only solution would just be to heavily medicate her. Like, of course, that's the only real answer for a start. And then he goes on to say, it's like, well, I'd like to go on and ask her to go to a doctor in LA to send a copy of her. The therapist goes on to ask if a doctor in LA can send the charts to this doctor so that way he can get a better previous history of her. Uh, and then the therapist will say, well, yeah, I'll go on and I'll give her something to help her sleep as well. Anyways, so both Chris and both Kim are on another car trip, and they're going to be late for their appointment. Uh, Alex is mentioning how he'll need to get an extension for this loan, and they're not going to get the paintings in time or the furniture back in time. So they're starting to more and more just kind of be like on the very edge of just thinking that they may not be able to get everything perfectly done the way they are, and they're just worried that if this house is going to go uh, to where it's going to get their magazine cover the way they want it to, and that things may not go on and work out. So, because also Alex is worried about his that if all of this doesn't work out, that he won't be able to get his career back, and they're going to just need to sell that place. Yeah. So Kim goes on and brings up to Alex about Sally, and Alex just says like, well, anything that she's dealing with is just all in her head right now. And then Kim goes on and like, well, what about Harris? Like, is that all? Was that all in his head? And Alex is like, well, it was all an accident. And so Kim goes on and says like, well, hey, everything that's going on with Sally, it's real to her. Um, and it doesn't really matter if we have not seen anything that she's talking about yet. So Alex goes on and just gets out of the car and he's like, hey, I'll walk to the place because it'll be a lot faster. I'll see you back at home. Mrs. Underhill goes on and she is to put water into the tub to get Sally ready for her bath. Kim goes on and makes her way to Harris to speak to him. And the nurse goes on and tells Kim that the medication that Harris is under, there's probably not much that she'll probably get out of him. So we have Kim that goes on and makes her way to Harris, and Harris goes on to kind of mutter every other word edgewise, but the big thing that he goes on and tells her is that she needs to go on and make her way uh, to the public library in lot 1134. So Sally goes on with her rubber ducky and her towel and starts to make her way through the house. The creatures are going through the ventilation shaft and following her. Kind of foreshadowing, like, guess what's gonna happen within the rub a dub tub. So Kim makes her way to the public library and is looking for a librarian. A guy with glasses is like, oh yeah, that's me. So Kim goes on and asks for lot 1134, and the librarian states that it's the Emerson Blackwood special collection. 1 second, right this way. So we also, it seems, have this librarian that has the knowledge of what is going on in this specific lot and rattles all this off to Kim if she doesn't know if what it is to entail exactly. So if anything, Kim is kind of getting a bit of knowledge from this librarian of what is to all be transpiring through the certain collection of things. And then she can go on and look at the sketches and eventually match them up with stuff that Sally is drawing. But anyways, now back to the tub. We of course have Sally that's in the tub. She's having a good time, bubble bath and all that goodness. So Kim is to go on and make her way through this staircase to then find out also about the mural. Uh, and Kim is to ask, well, what mural? The librarian is to say that there's seemingly a mural that seemingly is to exist somewhere in the house. And Kim is like, oh, well, I didn't know anything about a mural. So it seems that in the later half of the movie, they'll uncover this bit of cloth that reveals the mural of this kid being torn apart by these two tree branches. And we'll end up seeing that and be like, okay, that's horrific, but then also just like, oh, okay. So we have the creatures that go on and get out this seemingly hook to switch off this light switch, leaving Sally in the darkness of this bathroom. These creatures go on and they rip off the doorknob of this door, so Sally can't just leave this room either. Sally goes on to poke her head out of the shower, and it makes me so uncomfortable to see this scene because I'm thinking that there's going to be some monster just face. And luckily that did not happen, but I was assuming it was going to. Further and further as Kim is to look into this specific collection and find out about the fairy folk tales and the netherworlds and so on and so forth. All of this visual stuff that is to kind of just be lost on us because I'm describing it all. These ancient beings that would go on in exchange for a human teeth, for a human tooth, they would start leaving silver pieces under the pillow. So that's a reference to how she had gotten that silver piece. And the last known drawing of Emerson Blackwood would go on to be the sketch of the creature that would be to have a lot of just scribbles that are just being drawn around it. And we would have the librarian that tells Kim that this would be the last sketch that this guy had drawn, and then shortly thereafter, his kid had gone missing. And Kim is like, oh, his child? Yeah, his son had vanished. So Kim is going on and looking at this sketch and be like, okay, like I guess that this could have been the thing that it could have done his child in. But then also, the librarian is to mention how Blackwood disappeared shortly thereafter. Just like, there had to be some kind of connection there. Anyways, back with the tub. So Sally ends up getting a robe on, and she starts to make her way out of the bathroom door to realize, yeah, she's not going to be able to get out of there. So the creatures with scissors and sharp things in hand are trying to make their way to Sally. And Sally goes back into the tub. We go on to have the creatures that are starting to claw and cut their way as best they can through these curtains. The curtains are to all start to fall down. The curtains are starting to buckle and so on and so forth. We have at some point where this razor is to make its way back into the tub, and the curtains are to all fall down of this tub at some point. So Mrs. Underhill is to go on and hear the commotion, the screams and the cries of the child. So Mrs. Underhill runs to the bathroom to try to make her way to Sally. And the creatures get ever so much more closer to Sally, to where we see their gruesome looking faces closer and closer to the screen. And then the light ends up getting turned on, and Miss Underhill grabs Sally and is to say, "Oh my god!" So we have Mr. Underhill, or Mr. Underhill, Mrs. Underhill that goes on and is to talk to Kim and tells her, thank goodness she's home. Kim goes on and says, where is she? And Mrs. Underhill says, I put her to bed. Yeah, the safest place that Sally's going to be without any other people is going to be in her bed. Good job, Miss Underhill. Also, Miss Underhill said to Sally that she can't stop screaming, so I don't think she's going to be sleeping all that well. So Kim goes on to make her way to, of course, where Sally is, and it seems that her bed is empty. Kim goes on and makes her way down to the basement, calling out for Sally. Sally even pokes her head into the ash pit of the hole of the furnace thing that does not have the lid on it. The further and further that Sally tries to make her way into the basement to try to find where Sally is, the more she has to go on and see the mural and tear down the curtain to go on and find the picture of the kid being grabbed by these tree branches the way he is. So Kim can finally go on and see the mural, and at the very bottom, she sees how these hands of all these creatures are making their way out of this darkness. Alex goes on and makes his way down to the basement as well. And Alex is to go on and tell Kim that he thinks that Sally had ran away, and she's done this before. Alex and Kim drive off to hope that Sally is somewhere on the road, and they do find her. And I would probably be doing the same thing in my effing shoes if I were Sally. Yeah, all this is happening in this one place. Let's get out of this effing place. Let's freaking, like, get out of there. You'd be a lot safer outside of that home. So let's leave. So here is where Kim goes on to explain Alex about the disappearance of Blackwood's son, because Kim would state that she talked to Harris. Harris led to Blackwood. Blackwood led to the vanishing of Kim's son, and so Kim is going on and explaining all of this to Alex. So we have Alex that says to Kim, it's like, well, why are you even telling me all of this? And Kim goes on to say it's like, well, a lot of what Blackwood wrote at the end of his life, it's awfully close to Sally's story. Gnomes, creatures, all of it. And Alex turns to Kim and it's like, don't tell me you're believing all this too. And Kim is like, well, something must be terribly happening in the basement. We need to leave. And Alex is like, what are you talking about? We need to leave. Like, we have millions of dollars sunk into this house. Like, it doesn't make sense. And he's saying, like, what do you think that we should just do? Just walk away? And Alex is like, well, I accept that my daughter is very troublesome and problematic. I okay. Uh, but like there is no sense to match uh logically to think that there are monsters in the basement. And then so Alex goes on and sees Sally. It's like, okay, there she is. So Alex tells Sally to get back to the car. Alex goes on and tells Sally, hey, after the party, we'll talk about everything. But since they have this party, that's really what they're focused on. So Kim is going on and brushing Sally's hair, giving her the pendant, and Kim goes on to promise to Sally, it's like, hey, whatever will happen, I will help you, we'll get you out. And here is where Sally goes on and opens up the drawer and finds the razor, and then Kim is like, huh? And Sally's like, well, hey, I found it. They like, and I wanted it for protection. And so makes sense. Like Sally needs a freaking weapon. She needs to defend herself. But yeah, but Kim is just like, man, you have a razor in your freaking drawer. Like, wow, this is getting crazy. And plus, also, like Kim could go on and maybe not trust Sally after like, well, maybe she did cut my clothes. Maybe she still is lying. But Kim goes on and says like, well, hey, like I'm gonna go on and I'll help you because Sally says that these creatures are to be afraid of bright lights. So Kim is like, well, I think I have an answer for that. So Kim gives Sally the camera that goes on and it has this flash every time that she takes a picture. So it's like, like that could be a portable way to go on and kind of give uh, not only like Sally this kind of weapon in some ways, but also like if the creatures do start to go on and run amok, then Sally will actually have a way of evidence to give to her father to be like, here, here is the creature thing that I've been running away from. Here is some evidence. Um, so that way, finally, Alex, I think I said Chris at some point. I keep saying Chris. Uh, here's something that Alex can have as in his face, like, oh yeah, she's right. She's only the truth. Monster in my house. What's going on? Anyways, so we have Alex that is to be opening his doors to Jacoby, and Jacoby says, "Hey, just call me Charles." And immediately when I saw the guy who plays Charles, I'm like, "That's a guy from the OC." I like this actor. Like, yeah, he played the kind of curmudgeon, villainous guy in that show, but I liked him anyways. I was like, cool, he's in this thing. He's in this project. And it doesn't really seem that he's playing a bad guy in this movie because he's not really in this movie that much. But anyways, so uh, they're going on and they're looking around all over the house. And here is where Kim goes and finds Sally's sketches of the monster and then finds the exact same sketch that is similar to Blackwood's. Like, aha, evidence. To corroborate both Sally and both Blackwood's stories are to be the same. Uh, because neither one of them knew about either one of these sketches, but they look the exact same. So Charles goes on and is asking Alex where exactly Kim is, and we would have Sally that continues to make photos, and Alex at one point turns to Sally. It's like, hey, not everybody wants their picture taken. But here is where we start to get the creatures that are starting to run amok within this house. We have at a point where the creatures have made their way into this flower arrangement, and Sally goes on to notice one of them and tries to take their picture. So we have Alex that makes his way to Kim to ask, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you down with the rest of the people? And here's where Kim throws in Alex's face about the whole drawing that matches between both Sally and Blackwood's sketches. And Alex goes on to say, it's like, well, I'm sure like you just showed her Blackwood's sketch and she just copied that. And Kim is like, no, she's never seen it before, but I did. And so Kim knows better than Alex does. So we have Alex that is just telling Kim, it's like, Jacoby, Charles is here, like, uh, and we have Kim that's like, but this is your daughter. And Alex is like, I know, but like, we have a serious party going on. Like, let's just put our on pause. Like, so we then have one of the people that are kind of preparing the meal uh go on and tell Alex that dinner is being served. And so Alex is like, well, hey, 10 minutes, like, just come down there, just come downstairs and we'll talk about this later. So Sally had gone on and taken a picture of the creature, and she has a Polaroid picture of it, and she's trying to just shake it so that way it'll develop quicker, so she has something to hand her father. And when Alex is to come and see Sally, Sally's like, "Hey, Dad, I have proof." And Alex is not now. He ends up taking the picture and doesn't really look into much of it. So now at the dinner table, we go on to have the creature that is underneath the table and is trying to get. Or no, wait. Uh, Sally ends up, yeah, she ends up keeping the picture because the creature tries to get the picture away from Sally, so that way Alex won't see the picture. So what ends up happening here is the creature is now underneath the table, scratching and clawing at Sally, trying to get the picture, and so the creature does get the picture. And so Sally goes underneath the table to try and chase the creature to try to get the picture, or also to probably just take another one. But anyways, Sally going on and taking a number of pictures underneath the table isn't exactly the best looking thing for Alex, as he's going on like, well, like, uh, he tries to laugh it off, make a joke about it. Uh, Alex tries to say it's like, well, I guess not everybody is a fan of tonight's menu, and uh, so Sally wanders off. Sally goes on and makes her way into Kim's office, and she eventually goes on and is to try to take more pictures. Eventually, further and further, the creatures start to attack her here, and it gets to a point where Sally is trying to use the bookcases to try to crush these things, and is to try to defend herself as best she can. But at some point, it'll just get to uh, where Sally will be crying out for her parents, and eventually Alex and Kim and all the rest of the people will make their way uh, to seeing what all the commotion is about. So Alex goes on, makes his way into Kim's office, and Sally goes on and hands Alex this picture. And Charles just says, well, you know what, I think we just better call it a night. And it's like, well, yeah, I definitely think we should. Because this is basically ruining, like, this family's lives at this point. So we now have Sally, and she is making her way back to her bedroom. Yeah. If this girl just wants to get the F out of here, she should have gotten the F out of there a long time ago. But regardless, she's here to stay. They go on and they turn on the nightlight. Yeah, like that's going to do any better. And then Alex leaves. Alex goes on and looks at the sketch and talks to Kim about the basement, the mural, everything down there. And Alex goes on and looks at Kim and says, "I love my daughter, Kim. What do you want me to do? Like, what do you think is best? Like, should we leave?" And Kim is like, "Yeah, I'll go get her and we'll leave. I'll get." And so Alex says, "I'll get the car. It's the best thing to do. let's get out of here. So as Alex goes on and makes his way into the garage, and he goes on and hits the garage door button for the garage door to go up. And when Alex is getting the car started and everything like that, we of course have the creatures that try to go after him. And I'm kind of getting out of kind of pace here, but I'm just going to get to this moment where I can kind of rattle all this off, so I can just get this done. Uh, so when Alice goes on and hits the button, the garage goes up. Then all of a sudden, we have the creatures that grab the device to get the garage to go up, and it goes down. And then Alex is like, well, okay, I'll just grab this one thing to just kind of manually put the garage door up. And eventually, Alex's leg is to be roped. Alex falls over and hits his head. He probably gets knocked unconscious a little bit because he swings and he falls really hard. So we would have Kim that makes her way to Sally's bedroom, awakening her and saying, "Hey, we're going." So Kim informs Sally, "Hey, we're gonna go to a hotel downstairs, or we're gonna go downstairs, and we're gonna go to a hotel. Like, we're gonna get out of here." So, pushing on. So as Sally and Kim make their way through the house, they all of a sudden come to find that the house is now without lights. It's fairly dark. Kim luckily seems to have a flashlight, and so Kim ends up calling out for Alex with no answer. Kim continues to make her way through the house with a flashlight. I'm already past this moment. We're almost kind of we're pretty dang close to the end here, so that's pretty nice. So here's where Kim goes on and makes her way down the stairs. As we always come to find through these monsters, that if you go down the stairs, there is tripwire. Kim ends up falling down the stairs because of the tripwire, and she ends up smacking her way down the stairs. Uh, we have the creatures that go on to state, "A life has been taken. One life must be taken." And then the closer and closer the monster gets to the screen and says Sally, and says children's teeth. So Sally's to now go on and be in her own little room, calling out for Kim, calling out for Daddy. Sally starts to make her way through the house, and she goes down to the way of which that is to seemingly be right around where the tripwire was, and Sally continues to walk. She doesn't, of course, fall on the tripwire. The tripwire was already broken, so it doesn't matter at this point. So Sally goes on to find Kim. Sally tries to wake up Kim, and eventually the creatures all come around her. Sally starts to hit the camera. The flash of the lights hopefully starts to scare the monsters or creatures, but she is to really just be out very number at this point. So we go on to, of course, have the creatures who are looking for the key within Alex here, and Sally ends up getting, I think, either knocked out here or she ends up getting grabbed and dragged by these creatures because, of course, they want to take her down to the basement. Sally continues to scream out for Kim, and the Polaroid camera is to, of course, be away from her. Alex goes on to, I think, make his way back into the house as he has to break this door. And as he even tries to grab the handle to try and open this door, there's a creature that ends up attacking him. Kim goes on to find her flashlight and is calling out. Kim goes on and is to find Sally down by the basement, I believe, and Alex is to be shortly there behind Kim, calling out for her. So I think this is the point where Alex is looking through a keyhole, or Alex is looking through a keyhole, and at one point, the creatures are going on, and they're wanting to throw this needle into Alex's eye, and just in the nick of the time, he doesn't go on and look into the keyhole, and then they thrust it in there, and so he doesn't go on and doesn't get hit. But then he goes in and looks in again, and that's when they stab him in the eye. Anyways, so Sally is getting roped up by the creatures and being dragged into this ash pit, and Kim is trying to do the best she can to stop them, but eventually also Kim herself is getting kind of tied into these ropes as well. So we also have Kim that is trying to battle all these creatures, and so on and so forth. So we have Kim that tells Sally that she's going to cut the ropes away from Sally so that way she can get away. But inevitably, when Kim does go on and cut the ropes away from Sally, what ends up inevitably happening is that Kim's legs are tied to this rope, and Kim ends up getting sucked into this ash pit and sucked into this hole, and like Kim breaks her legs. I'm like, oh, that was pretty gnarly. Because I looked at that, I'm like, oh, delish. Ugh, well, anyways, so we finally have Alex that has made his way through the basement. As Sally's going on and smashing uh, certain creatures with her flashlight, Alex tells Sally if she's okay, and Alex all of a sudden then notices Kim there stuck in this furnace, going on and being sucked through the rest of whatever this ash fire pit thing is, and then Alex thrusts his head into the opening, crying out for Kim, realizing that she's dead. Sally goes on and turns to her father and says, "Daddy." The two of them hug, and we go on to then realize that uh yeah, like they're just hugging for way too long. I'd be like, we're gonna get the out of here right now. Uh, like maybe I'll go back sometime to see uh, if I can find Kim. But like, if anything, I think she's dead. I don't think there's any way she could have survived that. So yeah, like, I wish I could have saved her, but I came too late. So the next thing we see is both Alex and both Sally making their way back to this home that had been locked up and had been foreclosed. Alex and Sally make their way into the home just for Sally to leave a picture of both Kim and Sally next to this tree. Because Sally just likes to go on and draw people, because she even drew Mr. Harris. And Kim saw, like, oh, yeah, that's a drawing of Mr. Harris. Okay, Sally must have done that. So they drop the picture, and then the two of them leave. And the next thing we see is the basement door, and then we see that the ash pit is to be really hugely bolted down with a number of bolts. And we would come to find that the picture is to be kind of floating through the house, making its way to that ash pit door, and then gets sucked in. And then by the end of it, it seems that we come to find that Kim has been turned into one of them, as Kim sounds like one of them. And by the end of this movie, they say they will find us, and hurt us. Uh, we must fight. Uh, no, we all go deeper and we will wait. They will forget and others will come. We have all the time in the world. Yes. And that's how the movie ends. So yeah, so when you think about it, like any number of people can just find a house like this. Like logically, if you think about how many other times that like people will inherit certain things like Friday the 13th or whatever, that people will hear ghost stories about certain locations, but then they'll go on and they'll just live there anyways because, like, well, whatever. Like, I'm sure this time around, um, like, it won't be me to be the person that this afflicts to, but then they'll find out otherwise, and that's what just starts out a franchise of films. But logically, I guess since this was done in 2010, I don't think we're getting a sequel out of this anytime soon. But it was a fun one-off experience that maybe I'll go on at some point. Maybe check out the original. But at the end of the day, I think it's about time to say that I'm going to get that out of here so I can upload this for today. Thank you for going on and viewing this, however you were going to go about doing it. I know I'd go on and just say thank you a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people are getting annoyed with that. Just repetitively, just, but, uh, man, there's a lot of times where it's just like, I don't know what to say here. So I was trying to figure out how to, like, rush through some of this. Because I just, like, I'm trying as best as possible to not say every little tiny detail, like I probably would have gone on and done in the past. Because that would make these videos like 4 hours long. Um, but if anything, like I'm just giving people, I guess, just enough, I guess. But again, people are to probably look at these videos and just like, God dang, these things are too long. But also, I probably should have even gone on and at some point just done these reviews in just a certain pattern of ways of just kind of giving up on the long form and just doing the short form because I'm sure a lot of people are just like they'd probably be more satisfied by that. But then again, also a lot of people are probably like, well, you didn't describe the movie, you didn't explain the movie, because there's a lot of people that kind of get that. So like, there's no perfect way to go on, and even if you don't explain it, if you don't take the time to explain the whole entire movie, that people go on and like you'll probably upset somebody. You're gonna go on and upset somebody. Like, look at kind of the things that I've gone on to do in some aspects of like when I started doing this review channel. How immediately certain people were to go on and say it's like, well, hey, you're not gonna be a YouTuber unless you have this and that. I'm like, no, like anybody can go on and just be a YouTuber. All they need to do is just upload a video. That's all they need to do. Um, are they going to be a successful one? No. Are they going to be a a one that'll be monetizable? Probably not. But at least they'll upload things, and there'll be a person that does um, do a video. I wouldn't even call myself a YouTuber at all. I think I'm just a guy that does videos, and even that I'm just really poor at doing that. But anyways, I'm to always put my foot in my mouth and probably say stuff that'll probably eventually come back to haunt me. So, but either way, at least I'm always trying to probably say the exact same things that I've said in 50 other different videos. But anyways, I'm gonna get the heck out of here before I've probably said the same things way too often. Yeah, and because that's the whole thing when you do this like every other day now. Like, I have no idea what I said 50 other videos ago, or like there's a lot of stuff that I think would much more perfectly in line um, with a lot more tags that I can go in and do, but like reasonably, I just forget like a movie that I reviewed X number of days ago, or I don't go through my whole entire number of videos uh, and see if there's something I could have matched something with in the past. Because as far as like the horror genre goes, I don't think I really found anything that was actually really popular, with the exclusion of maybe Dawn of the Dead, the remake, or maybe a zombie series here and there. But like, there wasn't much as far as like the horror genre to go on and really find anything popular. Plus, also like with the exclusion of certain superhero films, there wasn't much to really find of much popularity except for maybe some Terminator stuff or whatever. Um, but if anything, for me, I was never to go on and think. Like I kind of had a feeling of what people would probably want to see as far as a review goes, but I would always want to say that I felt more lucky than skilled. So yeah, so hopefully everyone can go on and if they want to try this themselves, just realize that it's going to just take a lot of luck than actually skill. But if anything, um, it depends on the knowledge that people have as well. And that's the thing that I think I can take away from if other people want to try this, because I'm sure they're going to be a lot better than me at it, and they don't even realize it. And I hope more people go on and they do that. They try to do videos, because if I can do it, then freaking anybody can do it. Or a lot of people who are better than me, like, why are you watching me specifically? Do your own movie reviews and show reviews. Uh, See how easy it's going to be, because it will be way more easier than I probably will do it. And a lot of people are making money off of this, and they're being successful, and they're not doing it as much of a length that I am ever going on and having to do it. So, anyways, but that's it. More foot and mouth. I have the foot and the mouth disease. So uh, I can understand if people. That's probably why I get a lot of negative stuff on the channel. I probably deserve it. I probably do. Uh, but either way, I've taken up way too much of your time. I realize that. So thank you for going on and listening to a babbling idiot. Uh, but anyways, goodbye everybody. Goodbye everybody. I've gotten to a point where I've talked about way other things that are to be way outside this review. So thank you and goodbye.